Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Goodness John, and today we'll be drafting a basic sleeve pattern. So I'll be using this curved ruler and straight ruler to draft this pattern. If you don't have a curved ruler, you can also use your freehand. So let's get into the video. I already drafted the borders of my pattern paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw the midpoint. So just a midpoint that will occupy that my sleeve measurement will take. So I'll just get the midpoint and then I start applying my measurements. So the cap width, the first I'm going to apply is the cap width, cap length. So the cap length I'll be using for this pattern is 6 inches. So you can use between 5 to 7 inches for your sleeve, but I'll be using 6 inches for this pattern. So I'll measure 6 inches from the top of the sleeve up to see on that midpoint, and then I'll use a ruler to draw it horizontally across. Next, I'm going to apply my elbow length. So you would measure the wherever you're sewing for, from the top of the shoulder to the elbow. So for this measurement, it is 12, and then I'll apply my length of sleeves. The length of my sleeve is 24 inches. So I'll just mark all those points: the elbow length and the length of the sleeve. The length of the sleeve stops at the wrist. So I'll use an horizontal line to connect the points together, and then I'll start to apply my measurements. So at the cap width, I'll apply my round bicep measurements. So for this measurement, it is 17. So I'm putting 7 inches on both sides of the borderline. So 7 inches at the left and 7 inches at the right. And then at the elbow length, I will take my round elbow measurement. So for this, my measurement is 13. Sorry, my measurement is 11. So divided by 2 is 5.5. So I'll put 5.5 on the left and on the right of the borderline. So for sleeve measurement, we divide the measurement by 2, unlike the rest of the body measurement that we divide by 4. So I'll be dividing all of my measurements by 2. So for the wrist, my round wrist measurement is 9. So I'll divide that by 2, which is 4.5, and then I'll put 4.5 on both sides of the borderline. So after I've marked all of my points from the bicep to the elbow to the wrist, I'll use a ruler to connect the points together. So I'll be connecting bicep to elbow, elbow to wrist, and I'll do that for both sides. After I've got my sleeve outline, the next thing I'm going to do is to get the curve, so the armhole curve of this sleeve. So I'm going to use a straight line to connect from the top point to the bicep point. So it's going to look like a triangle. So I'm going to just connect it on both sides. So I will label front and back and then start working on both lines. So I'll be starting from the front line. So the first thing I'm going to do is to measure that line and then divide it by 4. So divide it in 4 equal parts. So I have about 9. So I'll just use my tape, fold my tape in 4 to get 4 equal parts, and then I'll mark it on the line in 4 places. So I'll just mark all the marks. So after I've marked it, divided by 4, and I've marked it, I'll now start applying my measurement. So at the first line from the top, I would go up by 3/4 of an inch. So that will be 0.75. And then I would mark it there. And then at the last line, so the second to the last line, I'm going to go down by 1/2 of an inch and then mark it there. So 3/4 of an inch at the top and 1/2 of an inch at the bottom. So I'll connect it. So it's going to be like an S curve. So from that top, I'm going to connect it and then get to the third line and then get all the way down. If you don't have a curved ruler, you can use your free hand to draw this. You just make sure that it's following the points that it should follow. So from that top line, it's going to intersect at the third point, and then and then it's going to follow another curve, S curve, in the other direction to the end of the sleeve. Okay, so I have this curve for the front. So now to work on the back curve. The back curve will be dividing that by 3 instead of 4. So we'll divide it in 3 equal parts, and then after we've divided in 3 equal parts, we'll divide the last part by 2. So now I have about 9, sorry. So I'm just taking that measurement and then splitting it in 3 and marking it at the point. So then the last part, I'll divide that by 2. So basically we need 4 lines, but it's not 4 equal parts as the front. So I'll divide this by 2 and then go up the top. The first division, I'm going to go up by 3/4, 0.75, just as I did for the front, and then I'll mark it on there. And then the last line, I'm going to now go down by 1/2 inch, so just as we did for the front, but we're just marking it at different points. So for the front, we're dividing that in 4 equal parts, and then for the back, we're dividing it in 3 equal parts, and then the last part we'll divide it by 2, and then that will be where the 1/2 inch will go in. So I'll use my curve ruler to connect it just as I did for the front, and you can use your free hand to do this as well. You just have to be cautious and be mindful as you're doing it. I hope this video has been helpful and easy to follow. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. If you're not clear on anything, just drop in the comment section and I'll be able to answer your questions. So this is what the sleeve looks like. This gives a better fit if you sew it like this. So I'll just be marking the allowance around the sleeve. So when you're sewing, this is the basic. I've used the precise measurement, but when you're sewing, you have to ensure that you add allowance when you're sewing. You can use this pattern if you're sewing a short sleeve or a 3/4 sleeve. It's just the length that differs, so you just have to apply the length. This is for a long sleeve, so you just have to apply the length to whatever kind of sleeve you're sewing. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.